Hello, my tarot friends. Today I am going to do a little tutorial on the cards you least want to see when you're doing a love reading. These are, to me, the most challenging energies to enter a reading when it's about relationship. And I'm just going to start with the four most obvious, and then we're going to go into some other subtler cards. First, we have the Devil, the Three of Swords, the Death card, and the Ten of Swords. Having one of these in a reading, especially if it's in a present or future position, is a sign that you might want to delve deeper into the challenges of a relationship. Having more than one really starts setting it up for, wow, this may not be the right situation for you. So the first card is the Devil. Now, the Devil, interestingly enough, made it to my top 10 best cards, but it's also one of my top 10 worst cards. That's because the Devil is oftentimes about addiction. And so sometimes this card really represents getting into an addictive relationship. And one of the hallmarks of an addictive relationship is that when you aren't with that person, it causes you severe pain. Rather than having a positive expectancy that you're going to see them, you're terrified you won't, and it causes you pain. That's an addictive relationship. It's probably not a stable relationship. Also, lots of times I see this when someone's extremely controlling, okay? So the Devil in a negative reading is not the best card to get. Then we have the Three of Swords. This is the heartbreak card. Now, depending on where it is and what's around it, it may be temporary or it may be permanent, but that's a hard one to see. It's also the classic, three is a crowd sort of energy. Usually if someone comes to me and they're like, I'm wondering if, so-and-so is cheating on me, and I get this card, I'm like, well, I don't feel comfortable saying no, right? Like, this is an indicator that very well there may be a third person. But sometimes this is an element, which is an addiction. So especially with the Devil, it means there's a third element involved that's causing heartache. It can even be like a parent, but usually it's someone who's cheating. Then we have the lovely Death card. This is definitely, both of these cards, the Death card and the Ten of Swords, are both ending cards. To get them both in a reading, chances are that relationship is coming to its natural conclusion, or, maybe a really difficult conclusion. Now, sometimes I'll see the Death card in a reading, and if it has different aspects, it just means the relationship is going through some sort of radical transition, but it's not ending. But usually, I see this and I'm like, honestly, this is probably the end of the course of this situation. Okay, so there we go. The four top cards that when I see them in a reading, and especially if there's more than one of these, I'm like, uh-oh, that's probably bad news. Now, the next cards I'm going to show you are all the fives. All right, if you get a reading, and this happens surprisingly often, okay? I'll do a relationship reading, and it's filled with fives. Now, in the tarot, you move from ace, which is 1, to 10, and the middle place is 5. And 5 is usually the least fun time period in a venture. So it's great at the beginning, or it's great to celebrate at the end. Fives are always about working it out, working it out, working it out, working it out. So if you get a reading with a lot of fives and it's been a bumpy ride and the indicators are it's going to stay a bumpy ride, this might be a relationship that is just not going to be worth the effort. Okay? Then we have these two cards. Okay? These are all about fear of commitment. Okay, so first I'm just going to address the Seven of Cups. So it's the Seven of Cups and the Knight of Cups. The Knight of Cups is very complicated. I will go into that in a minute. The Seven of Cups in a relationship reading oftentimes represents somebody that has so many choices about who they're going to be with that they don't want to choose one person because they're afraid that the next one's going to be better. This is a person who tends to be somewhat shallow. Maybe they've always gotten a lot of attention. They're not really interested in commitment. Oftentimes this is a person who wants to be wanted and they'll lead you on, but they have no intention of committing, right? Because there might be a better person around the corner. This is the Seven of Cups. This is in a particularly negatively aspected love reading. The Seven of Cups, in other ways, is a good card. Then we have the Knight of Cups, a very complicated card. The Knight of Cups can always represent somebody who has an agenda. Now, if the agenda is great, that they're in love with you and they want to sweep you off your feet, wonderful. This is a card of the charmer. But if their agenda is not great, that they just want to, love you and leave you, you won't be able to tell the difference between the two because they're so good at presenting what they want to present. Traditionally, this is the card of the player, at least in my experience. But, in certain readings, it actually is a really good card because it shows someone who's really interested in surprising you and getting you engaged. But overall, for me, it's tended to be a neutral to somewhat negative card if you're looking for, sincerity, honesty, direct communication, long-term commitment. This person might be a good time and it might be okay, or they might break your heart. So whenever I get the Knight of Cups, I always really have to delve into the rest of the reading. And then the last three cards I'm going to show you are the Four of Cups, the Nine of Swords, and the Moon. And the reason I bring these up is that sometimes when I'm doing a reading and I get a heavy Four of Cups energy, one or both partners are dealing with maybe depression or something emotional. And then the Nine of Swords is the same way. It's very much, look at that card. It's a high anxiety card, right? And especially if you, both of these, and especially combined with the Moon oftentimes is a lot of subconscious stuff going on. So if I get a pretty negative reading and they have 2 or 3 of these cards, I know that one or both partners has some internal stuff that they need to deal with in order for the relationship to move forward. Healing is always possible, okay? But, I would prefer not to see all 3 of these in a reading, right? Because that really means there's some significant work to be done. But then, looking on the silver lining side, maybe coming through some of these darker times makes a couple stronger. So anyway, that's what I have for you today. If you're interested in getting a monthly reading from me, go to my YouTube channel, scarletfoundry.com, and I read for every sign at the beginning of every month. Anyways, I hope you found this video informative and stay safe out there.